Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. And this is my second time coming back to 140 EDU, and it's a great event. I recommended this to so many people in the district that I work in, and I'm equally as impressed as I was last year with the amount of connections that were made and the caliber of people that are speaking, the ideas that are flowing. It's a wonderful opportunity to be here. I'm going to talk to you today about a conversation that my wife and I have been having for about 8 years. But the thing about that conversation is, you know, if you notice, we've been having it, never terminating it for 8 years because of all the different things that happen. And it's not that our ideas aren't as profound as they used to be and we can't make our points. It's just that we now have 3 kids. So in the midst of this conversation, you know, certain things will happen. Like a couple weeks ago, our 7-year-old, he wanted to give the 2-year-old a bath. So we said, okay, that's great. So as you can see, he's a messy kid. But so we said, sure, give him a bath. And when he's doing that, we're out in the other room having a conversation, and all of a sudden there's a huge splash. Well, they both decided it was a great idea to line all the cups up on the edge of the tub, fill them up, and then push them. So then the conversation ends, we have to go deal with that. Or there's the time when the 7-year-old himself decides, well, he didn't decide it, the bug decided it. We were outside on the lawn, my wife and I talking. He's running around the lawn, and all of a sudden he comes screaming to us. He got a bug stuck behind his eye. You can do that. We didn't know, but you can. You can do that. So that conversation then ended, and we had to go to the doctor. And amazing how far back you can stick instruments into an eye. To get at bugs. So yes. So that conversation ended. Or there's the perpetual ending of the conversation when the 5-year-old decides that she can't figure out which dance outfit she needs to wear to go to the park, because everyone wears, of course, you know, everyone wears dance outfits at the playground with rain boots and frilly hats and scarves, and, you know, there's all that going on. So needless to say, my wife and I have developed this kind of like conversational bookmarking. We're able to pick this one back up because it matters to us, but we're able to pick this one back up at different junctures throughout the past 8 years. And the kind of, when my wife and I are both teachers. We met as teachers. We met teaching in the same school. And so a lot of our conversation throughout our relationship has been about how do we become better at this thing we do? How do we, you know, make the most out of the opportunities that we have with students every year? And so this conversation was kind of born out of that. And we started out, again, we met as teachers, and then we became teacher parents, and then, you know, when our kids entered school, we became parents. You know, so that was a huge shift for us. And you know, there's a lot of, if you are a teacher and you do happen to have kids, you do happen to have kids, you'll notice that there's these invisible expectations that people place upon you and your kids, that they're going to be good at school, because obviously we were. I mean, we re-enlisted, we were so good on the back end. So there's this expectations that our kids are going to be good at it. So that places this, like, you know, odd pressure on you. Our extended family thinks, so that's great, you know. You'll all be on the same calendar for your entire lives. How great is that? You know, this 10-month Fantasyland calendar that we have. And so there's these expectations that are put on you. And what that does, though, is that makes us hyper-aware of our kids and school. Not that anybody else isn't aware of these things, or not. You don't have to be a teacher to be aware of this. But when something arises, when our oldest entered kindergarten, he wasn't reading, which, as you know, in suburban land, that's like, oh gosh, he's not reading in kindergarten. Like, get him help. But we were very concerned about that because of the fact that we didn't want, you know, we knew how the teacher was probably feeling. She knew we were teachers. She's probably like, oh gosh, because we had been there. Like, we had kids whose parents were teachers, and we were nervous. Like, they know the secrets. Like, they know when I'm lying. You know, when I'm saying, oh, he's doing fine, and he's really not. No. So we knew that was going on, so we were hyper aware of all this. But then as he entered, as my oldest entered, and then my middle child is now entering kindergarten, something flipped for us. And we started, this 8-year conversation started really building to really change and sharpen into what we were noticing about. Now, we were having these anxieties and these fears about our kids in school, and it really turned and it crystallized in what did we believe about our kids and what we wanted for them, and were we doing that in our own practice? My wife, the 4th grade teacher, was her classroom the type of classroom that she would want for our child? the districts that I work in, the curriculum and the staff development that I do, is it helping the teachers create environments that would do that for if my child were in that district. So we finally, we had this conversation 2 nights ago, so it's definitely not over, but we're getting to the point where we figured out that, now that it's kind of flipped backwards. Now we come into this as parents, and that really affects the work that we do, because we want to create places where we would want our kids to be. So we noticed a couple different things, and I think there's 4 points I'm going to make that deal with those things. And the first one is we wanted, and we knew that there were lots of situations where we had, as teachers and as administrators, where we weren't exactly present, where we knew that when a child came to us with an idea and wanted to speak and wanted to be valued, maybe we didn't do it the right way. And in our own lives as parents, I'm sure these pictures that you're seeing up there, you've seen something like it at the park. I was at a birthday party on Sunday, and there was a 2-year-old probably toddling around, and both parents are talking to each other, looking at the phones while the 2-year-old's walking around. No harm was being done, no foul anywhere, no one's really being hurt, but are they present? Are they with it? Are they in that moment with that child? So there were lots of things that we instituted in our own house to make that happen. We put, when we come in, our phones go in a certain spot and they don't move. So if they ring, we go to that spot. We don't like our kids to see us constantly reading on a phone when we should be interacting with them or when we can be interacting with them. The same goes for the classroom environment as well. Like, are you giving everyone the value and the attention that they deserve? When a child comes up to you and asks you something, or a child is relaying an opinion, is your body language showing them that it matters? Next, we said to ourselves every morning when we drive our kids to the school and we drop them off, and this is something that Chris has said for years, that is our most valued thing in the world. That is our life. If anything should ever happen to those kids, our kids, it would just be tragic. And so looking at it from the school side, when we watch drop-off every morning, keep that in mind, that these are the most prized possessions of the people that are dropping them off. And it is our unbelievable honor to have them in our charge. And so we looked at, are we making the environments in our classrooms? My wife looked at her classroom, she redesigned it this summer. Is it an environment that values that says, your children are going to spend 35 to 40 hours a week with me, 23.8% of their time in the hours in a week. Is it the right place? Is it something that you would want for your own kids? So when we looked at that as teachers, and for me as an administrator, it really changed our focus completely. We said to ourselves, we have to make that a priority. We have to be able to, when a parent comes in to talk to us, we have to know that that's what's going on in their head. Is this a person I want my kid with for 24% of the week? And so that completely changed and reshaped what we thought about for ourselves and our kids. And then this is something that's been flying around all day, and I love it. I love that it's really starting to sink in. It's funny that it's such an old idea. Like, this is complete John Dewey. This is, if you want kids to really love school and value the work that they do, make it matter to them. And this summer, my son's he just finished 2nd grade, so this year they did measuring. They measured with rulers, and they had the paper rulers come home and all these different things, and it was tragic. Like, he didn't grasp it, and it kind of frustrated him. There have been several instances or pictures we've seen today with kids with heads on desks and things like that, absolutely happening at our dinner table when measuring was occurring. This summer, though, some older kid in the neighborhood came by with a wallet he made out of duct tape. And all of a sudden, my son, he loves money, said, I want to make one of those to put my money in. So we said, absolutely. So we figured out, we got some great DIY videos from YouTube that walked you step by step, and each of them required that he measure and cut. Measure and cut. Well, lo and behold, he can measure and cut. He knows that 7 inches is this long. He knows that 9 inches is this long, and I cut here and I cut here. And we probably have more duct tape wallets than you could ever imagine at this point. Do you know that they make Mario Brothers duct tape? I mean, you can get duct tape that looks like anything. We have it. If you want, place an order with me before I leave, and I'll mail you the wallet. So make it matter. And so we realized, looking at our own classrooms, that the types of work that we did, especially when it comes to homework, had to matter. It had to add value or add, produce some sort of desire to do something beyond just the worksheet or anything like that. So that was something that when we look at what comes home from our school, our son's school, I have a hard time when he says, I really don't want to do it. And I'm sitting there like, I really don't want you to do it, but there's the other factors. Anyway, and then the last thing is, and this one's huge for me, and it's really about, if you're making a promise, you have to deliver. With our own kids, there's nothing worse than when I say, absolutely, when I come home from work, we'll do that. And then something happens. Last night there was a down traffic pole with exposed wires, and I didn't get home till very late, and everyone was in bed. That kills me because I know, a little heart just broke, or a piece of his heart just broke that I can't get back. And so the same thing works in school. There was an instance where we had to memorize a poem this year, my son did, and he memorized that poem, 5 stanzas of the poem. I don't even remember what it was about. It was like falling off a cliff. It was a rhyming poem, and weeks we spent doing this. And the day that he was supposed to read it, they didn't read it. And from a teaching perspective, I've been there. Like, I know things happen. I know the schedules change. It's the end of the year, and I get that. But from a parent perspective, I was crestfallen. And I realized, we talk about this one all the time in my house, that has to stop. Like, you can't do that. You can't not deliver on these promises. Either whether it's your own kids or whether the kids that are in your classroom, you have to deliver. If you say you're going to do it, do it. So when we're looking at our kids, whether they're our own kids or the kids in school that we have, these are the things that I would really, really implore us to do, is to be present, to always, when we're talking to our kids or we're with our kids, be with them. Don't be somewhere else. Don't be participating in interglobal connectivity through the virtual web, whatever. Be there. There's time for that later. Make time for that. But when you're there, be there. And then make it matter. Make the work that you do, the work that they do, matter to them so that it's important to them. And just overall, be sure that what you're doing is something that you would do for your own kids. We had a conversation in the back, just in the green room there, that if you were running a school, would you send your kids there? That's the key thing to consider. Thank you, everyone, for your time, and have a great afternoon. I'm excited to see all of you.